All right. It's Cullahcast number 8. We got Immortal Girlfriend, which is Kevin and William Bush.
Yo.
What's going on, guys?
Not much, man. Living.
Yeah, we were just having some good conversations already about some things about sampling and songwriting, and
right.
You guys have some great songs. I was just saying earlier, the Daybreak EP, really fantastic.
Thank you, appreciate
some of those songs. It's just they forget which is the second one. What was that? When the
Overcome the Night's the second song on the EP.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That I was vibing with that so hard. That I love the rich, like these. It's just you create these real rich analog like soundscapes that's just like kind of just really, it's like really washy and heavy. You know what I mean? It's just,
dude, I'm glad
it's like saturated, maybe. You know, and I'm a huge fan of this like nice saturation.
Awesome. That's the wave. Saturation. Saturation wave. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for saying
Yeah. No, I feel like I didn't know, I'd never heard of you guys, and then all of a sudden I saw you guys everywhere. Like, so like, where'd you guys come from?
Well, our mom and our dad. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I feel like everything did happen really fast. No, it was 2 years ago. We 2017, the very beginning of 2017, we moved into this recording studio out in Lannon.
Oh, nice.
Lannon, Wisconsin. What up?
Shouts out to Lannon.
Yeah, and we were going there just to record an EP. Right. And we met the guy who was working there, and he was like, "You guys make good producers." So he hired us on, and we were working for him.
Wow.
Yeah, we were working for him, and then he moved away to Texas, and we took over his spot at the top of 2017. And so we're like, cool, like everything was built out, and we're like, let's just live here and work here. And so we were doing that for a while, and then we both got laid off of our job. We installed like leather seats in cars, and we got laid off.
Upholsterers?
Yes, sure. If you want to, that's
aftermarket upholstery.
Nice.
Okay.
And electronics, because there's DVD players and sunroofs.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So we were both doing that job, and then they were like,
"So you guys are used to hustling already."
Yeah.
Mad.
I mean, we were trying to make it work.
Yeah, for real.
Because that was our house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we got laid off, and we're like, we need to make something before we move out, because we just figured we're done here.
Yeah.
Let's just make some music. And Will was going through what he was going through at the time, and
so I was driving a lot. I was delivery driving. After that job, I got like this third shift delivery job that I had worked like a lot of years before. So I kind of went back to an old job. It's kind of like going back to an old ex, I guess. You know what I mean? So it was there, but I didn't know that it was the best thing for me. But I mean, I was just doing that just to make ends meet. So that was kind of when the EP, the Immortal Girlfriend idea, kind of popped into my head. I started writing just music at night, just driving around. So I feel like that was kind of the essence of the band.
Wait, so you'd be writing it like in your head, like you singing it?
Yeah. I'd be getting all these melodies in my head. I'd be coming up with these ideas. You know, I'd render them out at 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I'd take it on the road with me and singing ideas to it, stuff like that. So, that was kind of how that EP kind of came about, but also the idea of just Immortal Girlfriend was more centered around that. It was just music for like, this project is music for like night. It's music for, I mean, I feel like it's music for all occasions, but it has more of a place at night. And
I mean, if you wrote it blasting in the car going down at night,
and driving, that's just kind of,
I get that. It's just windows down, arm out the door, night skyline.
definitely. In my feelings, yes, all of that.
It's gonna be a Batman movie.
Yeah, dude,
Just
straight from the Gotham City
yeah.
sound. Yeah, that's Immortal Girlfriend for you, man. But
So what's the name then? What does that name mean? It's like I know what the words mean.
right,
You know.
right.
Actually,
But is there any special?
what does
origin?
it sound like to you?
What
Or
do
what
you
I mean,
think it means?
when I think of it like syntactically, or like what the words mean, Immortal Girlfriend. The first thing I think of is like you were saying, going back to an ex, maybe a person that's always the girlfriend forever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an immortal girlfriend. That wouldn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an immortal girlfriend would be a girlfriend that can't die.
Right.
I was thinking a girlfriend that's with you forever.
Right.
But that's not immortal. But the relationship could be immortal,
Yes.
right? I don't know. Is that
You're not wrong. You're not wrong for that. I mean,
is there special origin or meaning for you
I
guys?
mean, the name we took from a song that we wrote like years ago. It was just, I was like, I like those words together, so we kind of took that. But beyond that, I don't know. You have anything you want to add for that or no?
No, I kind of like hearing people's reaction.
Right.
Because I feel like it says something about where they're at. Because we've heard people be like, "Oh, I wish I had that," and then we heard people like, "That's a nightmare,"
Yeah.
And like,
Right. It's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. You
yeah.
kind of reflect
do
it
you
back
see?
at them. It's like, what does that sound like to you? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Right. Well, that's the beauty of music too. I love hearing that when people hear certain songs or certain lyrics in the words, and they'll tell you what it means to them, and it's just like, that's pretty different than what I thought.
Right.
But that's not wrong. Like you said,
exactly.
Exactly. It's never wrong.
Right.
I think there's I forget who said it, but a song is never finished until it is like listened to by a listener. So like it's not when it's the mastering's done. It's not when the record's cut. It's not when it's released. It's when someone connects.
Right.
That's when a song is done.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right now.
I don't know who said
Getting
that.
into it, but yeah,
Someone
no,
said
I'm with that. I'm with that. I feel I guess that's when it comes real for me, is when I can hear or see someone's like reaction to it, and it's like a real connection. I'm like, oh, like
Yeah,
wow,
that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, because it's not even an ego thing. I feel like it goes past me, because I'm like,
just
I
a conduit.
connected to it for making
Yeah.
it, and you're connected. You know what I mean? So it kind of becomes bigger than everybody, I feel like.
So you guys had seems like you almost happened upon being producers in a recording studio, and found you had a knack for it. Was able to make the EP happen, and then how did that come to, like, all of a sudden now you're Band of the Year, 889 and stuff? Was it because of the EP, or was it meeting the right people at the right time and just everything moving forward because the music is propelling you, or you started performing, right?
Yeah, so we started performing October
of that year, 2017.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was our first show. And we weren't even really prepared to be a band, honestly. I just wanted to
So
put
it was
this
like
EP
the year
out.
of the band too, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, the thing
band
was, I just wanted to put the EP out, so we did. And then next thing you know, Radio Milwaukee was playing Daybreak off of it. So I was, okay, cool. And then there was starting to kind of be some interest of like when we're going to play out. And I'm like, I wasn't even really planning on being a band like that, but I was like, I mean, we've played in bands, most of our lives. So we were like, all right, we'll figure something out to do live. We'll figure it out. Yeah. And from there, it's just kind of kept, one thing leads to the next, I guess, when it comes to opportunity and just putting yourself out there. So it's like you do one gig and then people hear about it, and it's like, oh, like, you want to play here? And I'm like, oh, I haven't played there before. So
yeah, just
kind of chaining it along like that. And
just making sure opportunities are happening.
Dude, like, I think it's definitely been that. I mean, there was a little bit of a gap because I had some health issues going on for a little bit. But the idea was that we just kind of keep making more music and keep making, but also at the same time try to maintain a little bit of our, I guess, artistic integrity when it comes to just the music that we're making. That we're making something that we're feeling,
right,
and that we're making something that we're we're being honest with our expression, you know. So for us, like we were writing a lot of songs, but it was like this is missing something, you know. Like just like you were saying, like for people to connect is kind of when the song is done. So for us, I'm like, I have to connect to that song first before anyone else. That was our mentality.
That's exactly like verbatim the way that I approach it too. It's like, one, I have to connect to it. Right. If I'm not connected to the song, why would I expect anyone else to?
Right.
I'm the freaking person who made it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like because people, once you create that, you have that connection. You just kind of like instill that connection in the song with intention, and then when it's gone, I feel like you need that for it to even have life, right? Like you got to breathe life into it, and then but it has to be done with intention, you know, and it has to have, and the honesty part is a huge thing. I feel like a lot of people struggle, like they're always wondering, how do you make like doing music? It's like, well, you have to be honest.
Right.
You can't pretend to be someone you're not unless that's the act.
Dude,
you know,
like
you can't, you know, like you can't have both ways.
Right.
You got to be honest. You can't be someone you're not, but you have to. But that's a struggle for everyone, right? Is to find who they are and how they. But that's music is the perfect tool to find that.
I think so.
And you're never gonna get. I don't know. Maybe you can. But I feel like I'm always like just inching closer, but never. It's never It's never gonna be satisfied. And I think that's part of the beauty of that journey is maybe it will never be satisfied.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the journey is the whole part of it. And the honesty, the intention, and the purpose to connect. Like I feel like that's a lot of it. I mean, to me, when I've fully embraced that as like a more I always thought that and like had these like, you know, I was building those ideas in my head, but I never like fully embraced it in a like ideological sense. Until more recently when I started thinking about, I don't know, I guess I've tried to find a spiritual layer there. I feel like I think that's what it is.
Sure.
Is that like there's a lot of, if you remove the spirit from the spiritual role of the musician and try to pretend like it's just a business and pride, I mean, you have to have kind of all those to be really successful in this world.
For sure.
But if you don't have that spiritual layer,
I know what you mean.
then and I think that's where that honesty and integrity comes from. It's like, no, this is like you said, it's not even ego. It's coming through you. Yeah, it's coming through you. You're just the way for it to become created. Right. Like, and if you. And I think that's a big difference between a lot of people with music or people, and I think I don't know, does the spiritual aspect of like making music and with you guys also being brothers, because I come from a musical family where like my mom was one of 17 kids and they were all musicians and they all played music together and stuff, and all my I have cousins and uncles and stuff who were still pretty actually I don't have too many musician cousins. I have over 100 cousins, but none of them are full-time musicians. It's just weird, I think. But I got one uncle who's a full-time musician and one aunt who does it. And but my family is musical, my nuclear family, but none of them are like have this insane bug and just like I need to do this, and if I don't do this I will go insane. That's how I've always had it. It's like growing, but I wonder, because that's such a big part of my understanding of music is through family, and I think and that's where I've really gotten the spiritual nurturing, I think, of just having a family and stuff. So I don't know, is there anything with that with you guys, like just being brothers, or is it or is that just, I don't know?
No, that's real. It's very real. I feel like we have it. Our family's pretty musical as well. Like our parents play music. We have uncles on both sides, you know, that have done music and played music and have played at like professional level. So I feel like there's, you know, I don't know, ancestrally or whatever, like there's something in our blood that I feel like our family has maybe a bit of an aptitude for music. And for me, I guess as an artist individually from him, I feel like I got into music later in my life. Like I started playing guitar like when I was like 19 or 20. And before that, I was more on the visual art side of things. And just during that time, I feel like I developed my own relationship with music and also seeing like the power that it had. Because before, I really had no interest to actually play anything outside of like just thinking, oh, that's kind of cool. Like that's kind of cool. And then he started playing it when he was younger, and he started playing guitar, and when I saw that and that he was actually getting pretty good at it, I'm like, I'm wondering if there's something. I was like, I wonder if I could do that, So he was a low key inspiration in the early days. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a Cullahcast.
Yeah.
Only here,
Thanks,
folks.
man.
Kodak moment.
Yeah, but I mean, so for me, that like my introduction to music, like I said, it was at that time in my life.
It's all through guitar. It sounds like you guys both started playing guitar.
Yeah.
When did you start playing guitar?
Oh, when I was 11.
11?
Yeah. My grandfather bought me a guitar. I guess it is family.
See? When your grandpa gives you guitar, you know it's possible.
Right. And he was just an amazing person, like as a person, and an amazing musician. And I was like, oh, like you can do all that with one instrument. I guess it is. It is spiritual. I think music is spiritual.
Yeah.
I think there's like math to it, and like I don't know, but it's. And have you heard a song that's like, wow, that really spoke to me, or I'm glad this song exists.
Yeah.
I think songs
can bring you comfort. It can change your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
One song.
Yeah.
Or even songs. Say you're hearing a song for the first time, but it sounds familiar. You're like, oh, this song makes sense. It's resonating with me.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like I've heard this before.
Yeah.
And it may not even necessarily
trippy.
even be the chords or the lyrics, but it's like, there's some songs. Some songs definitely do that, and they're the ones that they generally stick out to you because it's like, wow, I'm so glad this exists.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I guess I always, part of my family, like and that's why the spiritual aspect of things, the family, my grandpa was also a pretty amazing person and he was a poet and musician, and he was raised by gypsies, Austrian gypsies that just came over here and just, and he told me some crazy stories about what they do. He's fish with dynamite with his uncles.
Oh, wow.
They'd, like light dynamite, throw it in the water, like time it out, throw it in the water and explode right before it hit the water, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Whoa.
And then all the fish would come out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they didn't even have to use a pole or net or anything.
I
Just
didn't have to cook it. No. It was ready to go. Right out of the water.
You got fillets flying right out, man.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I mean, there's cool stories like that, and then there's some real trauma going alongside that.
Sure.
And you're saying I think there's something in the genes or in the blood. Like when you do, it's not just the fact that your grandpa gave you a guitar. That because if your grandpa never gave you a guitar, there's no music. You might not even know that's possible. I keep thinking about that. Like why I'm doing music is like thinking about. I grew up. It's like, oh, my uncle's a musician, and he's been doing music his whole life, and all of them have and stuff. But that subconscious things like lets you know that that's even a thing. You can even, when you're a kid, you can just even be in the back of your head even. That's a possibility. That sounds like it's more fun than some other things.
Right.
It sounds like it's but they were very, very, very religious, Catholic.
Sure.
They'd say the rosary every night together as a family, and I don't know, as a kid and stuff, there's a lot, and the Catholic Church is very, very complicated and long history of everything. And I grew up in a period, most of my childhood, just kind of like totally rejecting it, and just there was some family members I really didn't get along with as well as others. I mean, I have over 100 cousins, and and we're bound not to get along with everyone, but it just felt like there was so much drama. Everyone was just like, it was just really like, I don't know, I didn't understand as a kid, and so there was a lot of like negative things with some of the family and some of that stuff, but the music was always still there, and I always still was like, okay, well, these guys can jam, they'd be playing jazz music, and I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, and I even if I tried to hop in, I wouldn't have been able to do anything, but I think that they approached it in a similar way. I think it seems like that's a common. I don't know. When I always think back to it, it's like, okay, well, what is the reason to even do music, or
Right.
or maybe it's the fact that I got a knack, got the genes,
Yeah.
got it, obviously doing it,
Yeah.
obviously making it happen,
Yeah.
making the music. How can I be the best musician then?
Right.
And then I think that's what made me like try to form a more formal ideology in my mind of like trying to embrace things like those ideas of musicianship is a responsibility, really. It's like
Wow.
it's a responsibility to keep honest music happening. Keep because in a world of so much superficial
Right.
and everything, is commodified and there's giant entities of that are trying to that they have purposes, right, to just make money, and they're working their ways. But I think throughout history and stuff, the musician has had a very important. I mean, back in the day, I mean, even all folk music in general, like carries the stories. All the people, they're the voices of the people and stuff. And throughout life, or even epic poems in ancient Greece, people would singing, and they'd have to put it in meter, because then all of a sudden you're hacking the brain to be like, all right, well, if it rhymes like this, then I can memorize it better. Yeah. And then, but it also sounds fucking awesome. So like iambic pentameter. No, but I don't know. I feel like I really took on that role once I started to like be like musician. Now I'm a musician. Right. But that's the first thing I tell people. Whereas like before I'd be like, oh, I'm an engineer, or you'd be like, oh, I'm an upholsterer. For sure. But now it's like, oh, what do you do? I'm a musician. Yeah. And every time it's just like, yeah. And
you are, like, you know what I mean? Like you are what you say and what you think. So it's like you are that. No matter what the scale of it looks like, that's what you do. That's what you're. If that's what you're. I'm really trying to think of your purpose. Yeah. I guess, yeah. Vocation. But you know what I mean. Beyond just like a career, beyond just like like a job or what I do. It's like, no, this is like part of my either like my gift, but also like you said, your purpose and like what you're trying to do with your life.
Yeah, and ultimately to allow people to connect and be able to be okay with feeling things. And I think I've found, especially music for the car, like, man, being in the car is such an intimate thing with music. I love listening to my mixes and stuff in the car too. Yes, it's so awesome. It's like, it doesn't sound like it anywhere else. Right. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense, that it, like, and I've heard of other people mixing in there, they're like at least going in there to hear the mixes. For sure. But playing it and like recording and stuff along, or like working through the writing process in the car, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. Like
render 7 of the song. It's like, yeah, this one hits. You know what I mean? Like that's a nice feeling.
Yeah. No, I think that there is something about being in the car. Is it just because you're fully immersed, maybe? Yeah. You're fully immersed in it?
It's to me, it's kind of like you have like it's almost like a movie in a weird way. Like you have like your screen of like your windshield, and everything that's going on outside of the world is like your vision, like your screen that you're seeing. So as you're driving and listening to it, like the other day, we're listening to a song, we're heading towards like a super cloudy, dark, you know what I mean, like a horizon. And it's like, wow, this is really fitting music, or wow, this is really really fitting music for this sunset, or wow, like
it just all makes sense right now.
Yeah, or music stopping like when you pull up at your destination, like the song just ends and you're like, no, my life is a movie. You know what I mean? It turns it into like, I don't know, it turns it like cinematic, and I like that. I feel like it adds some depth to life. You know,
it's amazing how I feel that too about movies, like, and I feel, man, what movies have really changed our perceptions and our our awareness of like I dream in movies, basically. Right. There's these narratives and there's cutscenes and there's like pan outs and stuff. Yep. And I'll be like, what? I wake up and there's all these Shyamalan twists, and it's and then there's that end, and there's the orchestral music and all that stuff, and I think it's. I mean, I grew up just absolutely loving watching cinema and films and stuff, and the music in there. Once I started to listen to movies for like as for the sound design and stuff too, it totally changed my view on how that all works. But that just like putting it on mute and listening to a scene,
dude,
or watching a scene without the music, and it's like, wow, this. Or those types of, I forget what it, there's a specific word for the technique, but when it's like a really high impact scene where it's like lots of movement, all this crazy stuff, but then there's like really soft music in the background or whatever.
Oh, sure.
Or maybe just silence.
Yeah.
You know,
like
you'd think it would be like this crazy noises, but some of that stuff's really impactful. But do you think you guys, the way that you're approaching music too is through how much of like cinema is on your mind when you're
gosh. It's a good question.
So
I
much.
feel like that's similar.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
I'm enthralled in like movies and soundtracks and ideas. Like that's kind of we got swimming through our minds. Like we're constantly trying to find ways to.
You guys got to do the next Knight Rider.
Dude, I'm so down. I'm so down. NBC, whoever's on that, yeah. Holla at your boys.
But it is a big part then.
Yeah. I would definitely like to get into that arena of working more with visuals and music and just exploring more of that relationship, because I think that's really impactful, like the two mediums, because a lot of the music that I'll do, just, you know, in my spare time or whatever, lately I've just been having a lot of visuals around me. Before I would just kind of write in my mind. But now when I'm creating the music, I'm starting to have like way more visuals around, like things just running in the background, or, you know, comic books out or whatever I can get inspiration from. And it's really strong. I think it's been driving.
Okay, so
my
it is
creation.
like an intentional part of your process then.
Like now I would say, and that's more of a recent thing. Like within like the past maybe 6 months, we've been doing that a bit more, and I'm seeing how much it can really impact the song. Is like, hey, throw a bunch of movie trailers on, and then like sit there on your laptop and like see what you come up with, you know, just based off of a vibe. Or if I'm hearing something in my head, I'll try to look for a visual, like what's something intense or what's something like serene, you know what I mean? And I just like to, like I said, that relationship, I like to play around with those two mediums and see what you can find. Because sometimes you can, like you're saying, you can mix super intense scene with like what if you put like this goofy sounding, you know, track right here, and then it's like, oh, now this is funny. Like we talk about that all the time. Yeah. Like, oh, like we'll listen to a reality show and someone's talking, then they have like this like dopey music, and it's I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be funny right now, I guess. You know what I mean? Even though it can be edited to hell and look like, you know.
You got some tubas and some.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like the horns and stuff like that. Right.
I think the audio visual, especially like I think it's only getting stronger and stuff. Yeah. The audio visual, what do they call it? Like cross modality, right? Or like the way that both of those interact in our cognition. It seems to be a pretty powerful connect, or just a cross connection between the two. There's this thing, I don't know if you guys heard of the McGurk effect.
Okay.
It's this phenomenon in cognition where essentially it's what you're saying. If you ever put on like a song and then you played a movie in the background and then all of a sudden things are like matching up, the beats matching up.
Right.
There's this. It's basically an illusion in that our brains are just making the connection.
Yep.
And so like if I were to show you, or if I were to have some playback here and I'm just going. And I had la 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 in the background, or ta 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 ta, or ba 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 ba, or any of those things. It's gonna look exactly like I'm saying that, so, you know. And then there's a similar thing, and it's all the visual and audio together. The one really trippy one is when you have a white light flashing, or no, it's just a white light with a tone, like a sine tone, just being like boop, and the white light flashes at the same time as the sine tone, and then they'll play the sine tone twice, where it goes boop boop, but this one light will flash, but you'll see it as two lights flashing. Because the two, even if you know it's coming, even if you know that that's not happening, you will still watch it, and your brain still.
Wow.
And so there's all these holes in our and all these limits, to the way that these things interact, and I feel like now with I don't know when or how all the augmented and 3D, because I know there's pretty good 3D like algorithms that can use stereo to like make it feel like there's things in the back or in the front or anything, but actually having 3D, feel like I have you guys ever been in like a spatial audio room, or like with 8 or 12
like
speakers,
super surround sound?
Yeah, it's like, the stereo has a 2, and then you have quadraphonic, which is 4, and so you have like 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and then there's like
I'd like to
octophonic
experience that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to school at Trinity College in Dublin. Okay. And I had some spatial audio training there. I got my master's there in music and media technologies. Oh, wow. And one of the classes was a spatial audio, and they're playing all this. I'll send you some links to this stuff, because this stuff is really, really fascinating. There's this guy named Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, who was essentially he's the German godfather of all electronic music. Oh, nice. Like he was synthesizing sound. He was the first person to synthesize sound. He was using it like before they even had their first magnetic tapes, or they were still using phonographs and stuff. And he's using all these giant machines just to make these noises. And you hear some of these stuff, and it's like in the 30s and 40s. These tones that he's making still sound fresh to this day. Like it's just like, whoa, how is he doing this stuff? Yeah. There's a song called one of my favorite songs was what I heard he wrote for 12 speakers. So it's not only is it these crazy synthetic sounds, he's messing with the whole way that we perceive sound in a spatial setting too. So there's like the visual, there's stuff, and then there's also that whole what we call it stereophonics, is polyphonics, I guess, or whatever. No, but that's with noises. What am I thinking? I don't know what the words are for it, but maybe that's right. No, that's for synths. You guys know, the polyphonic keyboard. Yeah. But anyway, there's a song called Gesang der Junglinger, which means like the song of children or something, and then he started sampling stuff. So like they called it found sound in France. It's like the first people that were sampling. Okay. So they would take recordings of things and then mess with them. And there's this big ideological battle between music electronic and musique concrète in France and Germany, and all this stuff. They were making these whole new ways of approaching sound during like World War II and stuff too. They were like fighting ideologically. Whoa. So like the like music electronic people are, all the universities would be like, this is the German way, and then the French were like, no, this is the French way, we must do this. And so then they started developing it, and then Stockhausen was the first person to make them both together, the song. And so he has all these crazy synth sounds and it's all electroacoustic kind of like vibes, where it's like there's no rhythm, there's no, it's just kind of like just like crazy. Whoa. But they're sampling all these children saying all these singing these songs all in German. It's super trippy. Dang. And hearing I heard it with 12 speakers around me, and it's all going. And so he has all these bubbly synth sounds that he's making, which I don't even know. It would be intense for someone to even design this now, the way that he's doing it. And it's all flying around. It's just like, oh my God, this stuff is in. I didn't even know these things existed. Right. Or this guy, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, just a genius. And he made all these crazy space operas too.
I really wonder what he drew his inspiration from. Like, what was he even going for? He's like, I'm just trying to making some sounds that are just completely brand new. Like, you know,
sure.
I'm really curious.
Imagine the 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't sounds like that.
Right.
Beeps and boops, we're so used to it. Like, our phone makes it every 2 seconds.
Right, yeah.
Like, but imagine only hearing like a stringed instrument or like a voice, and that's it.
Thought he was Satan or some shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
But even though
It kind of sounds like.
I feel like electronic music is like I don't know. It's I'm glad I'm alive to hear it, because I feel like it's almost the most special kind of music. You're taking electricity and turning it like a natural element and turning it into sound and like waves, and it really hits people. I feel like electronic music is special in its own way, and it still hasn't been explored all the way. It's infinite.
I'd say it's pretty infinite. I think a lot of musical styles are
in its
infinite.
infancy. I feel like it's just like just came.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, less than 100 years. Easy.
Yeah.
Real modern electronic music's right, like that probably 60s, 50s, 60s.
Sure.
Like that's when the first like drum machines and stuff.
Oh, right,
like, right. Or is that later? I don't know when the first drum machines were. But that's when disco was going on, and they were but digital didn't come out till a little later, right? But there was drum machines going back. When were the Rolands?
Yeah, those make something, and you're going to hear it, and you know that'll be what it'll be. You know, that's super dope and freeing. I'd say, you know, to make something that can be a true expression. You know, I think that's an important thing to do. But I guess on the flip side of that, I guess I'm seeing the worth in production and like what it can actually do, and like, oh, this is portraying what I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to put out there, this is portraying it in the better light. Like, you know, audio wise, you know, thanks to production. Because sometimes I would think, oh, okay, like, you know, it just makes it louder. But sometimes, like even from hearing our masters, getting our masters back, I'm like, there are some things that we benefited from even going a different route, I guess. I don't know.
So you guys have been producing for some other groups too, right? And how has that been? Because I've always been interested in pursuing that a little bit, because I feel like I always have a lot of stuff I have to do for my own music, but I've done some production and like small production and engineering work on. I did it was a rock band. I cut an album with them, and it was a good challenge to do something completely different.
Sure.
But I've seen your guys' names in some production credits and some other artists around Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Is that how do you guys what do you guys feel when like going into when you gotta like, is it a work for hire or you collab or whatever it is, and maybe you want to do it, maybe you're not so sure if you. It's just like, well, we got to do this and we'll do the best you can, you know, because that's the job. But do you find that less or more fulfilling, or is it always just depending on who you're working with? Or
interesting.
I don't know. What do you guys feel with the difference between producing for someone else and producing for your own?
I feel like it's easier to produce for other people.
Yeah.
Well, part of like when we're in that studio, like part of staying there was working with people that like, you know, in any and every project for a time until that became an issue. But yeah, I would say like,
like the creative control.
Oh, not creative control.
Oh,
I usually just like I don't know. Everyone's at different places and not you know, like sometimes you gotta play to that. You know what I mean? You gotta like.
The SoundCloud rappers.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but it's. I had a lot of fun.
SoundCloud's only going up from here.
Yeah.
You think so?
No, I don't know.
I heard there's a 1 million.
They're changing something.
Really?
But they're always changing something.
Right.
I don't know. I don't use it too often.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good place to hear like the new guys, though.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
If it's dope.
So you think it's easier then? Is it because there are clearer like guidelines, or do you put yourself to have clear like we got to do this and this and this and this? Do you have, you know, or you have to have more structure when you're working with other people? Maybe.
No, I think sometimes having that actually makes you creatively better. Having some constraints. To be like, I'm only going to use, or I'm going with these sounds, or they're trying to do this or trying to do that. And also creatively, I guess you feel when we've worked with other artists in the past, we've definitely felt more free than with our own music, which is funny. Because with your own music, I think you treat it like, we were starting to treat it like, this is something super specific. Like, this is something that really has to, I don't know, like nothing, almost like nothing was ever good enough. Like, you keep making something, and you're like, oh, I hate that. Oh, I hate that. And then you can make something for someone else, and it's like, wait, I actually like that. And I came, like, because I wasn't putting these constraints in my mind, you know?
Interesting. So that you think because of the added constraint, that's what makes it easier. Maybe. Yeah.
Or the feeling of you kind of get to be a chameleon.
Right.
So, this is a rap project, like, sweet. I can use everything I would never use for my project and like have fun, or this is going to be all folk, like, cool, let's get out those instruments.
Right.
That's fun. And I feel like if you aren't producing for people, you totally should be. I mean, you should totally be doing it more, because it is its own sense of fulfillment.
It is its own reward, for sure.
And I feel like it does force you to get out of your comfort zone and be like, oh yeah, like, let's get an orchestra for this thing. You know, not a whole orchestra, but it's like, I would never do that for myself, because it's like, hey, that's not my money. That's my money. But someone else is like, I'm thinking about having these musicians and bringing me. It's like, oh shit, we can put musicians in this. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just me and my sample contact libraries, which are pretty great, but but they only can do so much sometimes. Yeah. No, I've always been thinking about that and stuff. And I think I've been starting to, because I've written music for so long now. It's like since 2006. I've been releasing an album every year, and so then I've only been engaged in the scene these past few years. And once I moved to River West and came back from Milwaukee from Ireland, then I was like, I need to do this. It needs to be my 100% priority every single day. I need to be working my ass off to fucking make this happen. And but before that, I was just I performed a few times. Actually, I performed at the Rave a couple times back in my 2008, 2009, 2010 time.
We probably did too, actually.
Yeah. Well, you could pay for play before. You'd go and you'd just be like, I'll sell 20 tickets. And I just give them to my friends. I didn't even sell them, but please come.
I remember that whole racket. Yeah.
You guys know RJD2?
I've heard of him.
Great. Talk about sampling. I mean, man, Jesus, this guy. But he was coming through. One of my favorite hip hop producers, definitely. Just such a he's able to create such variety and such intensity with his sampling. Like, everything is sampled, but it's like, how did you find all these things? Where it must be every day, right? It must be every day. That's like everything he does. And I don't know, he must catalog everything well and have a good memory, or have some way to recall or something. Who knows?
Right.
But we did. I performed a couple of times, and that time it was the first time I ever performed, and I just did a little karaoke to my songs, the production, backing tracks, and I just put my mic on there and just had it go from song to song using the stems, and it was the first time I performed, and that was the last time there was one more time after that I performed like that, but then after that I was like, this doesn't really feel like a good performance. It feels like karaoke. But I was really lucky in a sense. It was the first time I ever was performing this, and the opener, they came to me, and I was supposed to be in the side stage by the Rave.
Right.
Just as basically doors open, I start. I play a half hour.
Yep.
There might be one person there.
Oh yeah.
But my buddies were there, but then they came to me. They're like, "Hey, the opener to the opener isn't showing up. So we're gonna bump you. Now you're gonna play on the main stage." And I was like,
"That's fire."
I was like, "What,
dude?"
I was like, "This is a dream fucking come true, man."
Yeah.
And so then I was on that main stage. And all these, and then some other people from my high school came, and they were like, they were blown away. They're like, how does he play that?
Yeah. That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
I was like, this
glow up is
yeah,
real.
man. That, like you're saying, those opportunities. If I didn't, you know, like something like that never would have happened if I didn't actually. But then I kind of like, I was studying at Marquette then, and I like was pretty focused on that. I wasn't really engaged in the scene, but I was still composing. But I was just by myself, surrounded by engineers. Really not a lot of creatives around. I was just kind of like on my own, just like really making it, just continuing to make music. But I never really had a good collaborative upbringing. Really, it was really just me and my room. I actually, there was one guy I collaborated with, shout out to formerly Hitman, Ian Carroll.
Oh, nice.
He taught me, that's when I brought the turntable and stuff, and he taught me turntablism and like what hip hop was. And I was, and he loved scratching. He had the two, he could juggle, and he could do the whole thing, and he was a drummer and stuff, and he just basically gave me the lowdown on what hip hop was and sample hip hop. And that's when everything changed in how I approach music that was maybe, you know, there were some people in my life that came here and there, but it was very like it was not a lot of collaborative nature. So I feel like I'm starting to open up a lot more as I've been engaging, and I've done some production for other people, but I think it's something that I'd like to do more, and I feel like I love working with other people, and I love doing it. It's just like, it's always the time and what project is this, and is this and there's so many logistics into it, especially when I got my own stuff and and it's like, okay, well, then it's the industry stuff. Like, okay, well, who owns the publishing? Who owns the writing? Who actually is gonna? What's this? Is this going to be a barter trade here, or is this going to be money trade, or is this like all this stuff? Where it's I don't know. I feel like it could be. There's so many things, but that's probably just my mindset being like, oh, there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this. Yeah,
there's a lot that goes into that, so I understand, especially if you're used to creating in more of a vacuum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like people even being in here. I don't even like people knowing that I have a neighbor downstairs.
Right.
They don't care, and they've said many times that they don't hear anything or don't care, but it's like, I still know they're there. Right. And that's still like a little part of me that's like hesitant to like bring it to max, or like to be like really, really get into like that crazy flow state where it's just like letting go of everything. Because who knows? Then, am I loud? Is there going to be someone like, who knocked at the door? Yeah, someone listening?
Is someone trying to sample me right now? What's going on? Yeah, no, that transition is kind of it's its own thing. You know, like I think there's definite benefits, you know, to working with other people, even in the creation process.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, we've just had to navigate that over the past, you know, couple of years, as far as just seeing what works for different people, what people like.
It teaches you a lot about people and a lot about yourself. Because, like, man, I'd have sessions with people that were strangers. Right. And you gotta, like, not only do you gotta make them comfortable, you gotta get them to sing in front of a stranger. Right. You know, big black dude. It's like, that's already intimidating
and
enough.
Sing well. That's
in like a vocal
microphone's
booth.
hot in a place he's never been.
Yeah, with a stranger. Here we go, and you're paying for it.
All right, number 2. Okay, let's try it again.
Right. But you learn about people and like, all right, I gotta put them at ease and right. You know, you learn what they respond to, right. You know, and I feel like it changes you.
You're amazing. You're amazing. You're doing such a great job.
Sure. Yeah. People need to hear that.
They do. Absolutely. I think all musicians need to hear that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like for real.
Real talk.
Yeah.
I think maybe just most people in general.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, you're amazing. Keep doing it. You're a great job.
Hang in there.
It's like, my singing? No, this life. Like, just take that. Just take that.
Yeah, that's good.
Singing, your life is doing great.
Yeah.
It's like, what? wait.
So I wasn't recording. I'm just giving out affirmations all day. I'm sorry. I wasn't recording that.
Yeah, it's tough. We're chasing our dreams.
Right.
Like, there's no guarantee for this.
No.
Being a musician, like, I don't know. There's such for success. A lot of people's success looks like.
Right.
This is the hardest thing, and then you have your family doubting you. Get a real job. You have everything coming against you because you're trying to be creative, or you have your own day job or whatever.
Yeah, the culture. They're like, they romanticize musicians, but at the same time, be like, yeah, get a real job. That's not a real. What'd you expect?
Right.
Yeah.
People to support you.
Right.
Right.
Wow. Not yet. I mean, eventually they will.
Not until there's a breakthrough. Then all of a sudden, everyone's like, you're.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in Canada and in basically I know all the Scandinavian countries, but a lot of European countries, you can get a stipend from the government for being an artist.
Oh wow!
And that if you just have to prove. And everyone has their different processes to prove it, but you have to prove that you're impacting the culture and stuff. And of course, there's probably a lot of loopholes in every different country and stuff, and a lot of different hoops you got to jump through. But I mean, that's I think that's something that people should definitely think about here in America, because. Yeah. Now we basically you're lucky if you get some corporate sponsorship.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Corporations run, or larger. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about the big whole countrywide things where maybe, or even regional stuff, where it's there's really just a big companies that are making things happen. Like, the Marcus around here, they just have so much in the entertainment industry. And then there's the Levitt stuff around, and then there's all the Cullah and all the, there's all these big, people who have these resources, and people are just like, how do we get in that? They want to make whoever, it basically seems to be that a lot of the high arts are all privately funded, really. And there's not a lot of community there's a lot of community local, smaller stuff, but in terms of a larger platform, there's not really. I'm sure there is some. I'm sure you there are no poets in residence and stuff, or residencies with certain municipalities, but they're really, I don't think they would give you a stipend to live. But it's based. Someone was telling me about there was a poetry. You could be a poet in residence, or there was 6 months at a time in Berlin. There's these people who host poets and stuff, and they pay for their rent and allow them to write stuff. You just have to write this amount of things and have to give some credit to the place you're living or something. There are things like that. There are things like that, but to allow musicians to live, and I've actually heard that too. Someone was just saying that last night. Someone was telling me about at this festival. Someone was saying that they were talking about their friend who was paid by a label to live in a house in Nashville for 2 years working on an album. Wow. And it was just here, just we need you to make this. Yeah, we'll give you a salary essentially to just do your thing. Yeah. And so, you can, it's there, but it's all, there's a million ways to do it. I'm sure there's probably even more than that, but I think there's something to be said about the society and the priorities if you live in a different society where they're no, we want the collective to be able to we want people to be able to we want to prioritize art in our culture. I know Iceland, it's huge. In Iceland, the art scene is just super embraced by the people there. Man, and it's an interesting thought. When I first heard that, I was just what? There's some things here that we need to change real quick. Right. That maybe is, I'm an artist, so I'm just where's my money? Sure, right. Yeah, but you want our it's
art.
I work it every day. I see some people do nothing. It just, it's easy to think it's not fair, but knowing that it is implemented elsewhere and successfully. Right. Knowing that it is possible, it's not there's pipe hope. Dream.
Yeah. No, there's definitely hope. That's actually comes back to this Rolling Stone article that I read a couple weeks ago, and it was talking about how right now, the middle tier musician is there's more people living off their art than ever before. You know, when it comes to like the music,
internet?
and basically because of streaming.
Yeah.
So streaming kind of made this middle tier musician, like this person that was basically playing like clubs,
right.
to now like they're playing theaters and like selling out theaters. There's more people doing that now, and the streaming has a big part of that. So like we have that.
So there is that.
So that's just a technology thing. It's like, hey, you know, thanks to the power of the internet, there's more people doing it. Because the thing is,
Just gotta know more things.
Right. But concert sales are up, so people are going to concerts.
Well, that's good, and the culture is moving. Or do you think they're reacting to the technology? Or
here's the thing: if we don't, everyone, like most people stream. They stream their music. Like some people like merch still, some people like CDs or vinyls, but I think when it comes to where we're at as a society, people want that escape again, and I think they're almost getting it at these shows. You know what I mean? We're talking about like a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
We're going out there. Like that's their temple. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like whatever that venue is. It's
especially because no one's going to church anymore.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I think that even plays a factor. Like even as like. For society, we're generally, most people, humanity, I guess if we're talking, there's that need. There's almost that need for worship of something. Yeah. Whether it's God, whether it's a politician, whether it's your favorite singer. People have this like kind of like this natural like pedestal thing where we're looking up, you know, kind of towards something or for something. And I feel like you said, even spiritually, where a lot of people are at, like church, attendance is definitely on a decline in 2019, but concert sales are up. So it's like you trade one, temple or synagogue or house of worship for another, essentially. And so but I feel like...
So does that make us the priests?
Maybe in a way.
You said something earlier about how we have an important role, just as musicians. And it all ties back into the spiritual side. Like, have you ever played to somebody and then, like, I don't know, they open up, and they'll tell you anything, or I'll walk in a venue, and then after we play, I'm hugging somebody,
strangers,
and you don't know me, we're strangers. I'm covered in sweat, but you connected, and I feel like there is a responsibility that when you're making this music, like. You're opening people up, and
dude.
What do you do with that platform? There's a responsibility. Do you put something in there? Do you try to?
Do you manipulate it for your own benefit? Televangelize it.
Right.
Is that what this podcast is?
It turned. It's something else now.
No, I've been feeling that. I think it's because of the the performance is exactly that. Like, also, I mean, I'd hear it from the recorded stuff, but I think when the person to person thing, when someone can send me they can comment on my YouTube video and say something great, and that's and I feel great when I read it, and it's like encouraging, and I'm just like, music, keep going.
Yep.
But then when it's in person, especially after performance, where I know that I was trying my best to communicate the emotions of the song and my intention, or even if just being honest with some emotion, something. And people start telling me about their friends who are X, Y, and Z and doing this or about their family and what this stuff's going on. It's just like, whoa. Yeah. Like I'm really, it's like, it's almost, it's empowering, but also kind of terrifying a little bit.
And I think that's weight to it.
Yeah, there's a huge weight to it, and I think that's what makes it real. And that's like, I feel like that's the stuff that I want to continue to be reminded by, like that weight. Like, I don't want to like lose that weight, or something like to know how real it is, like how people really. That's I think you're saying about the temple of the stuff. Like, I know. Especially in circles of scenes in Milwaukee, it's like these tight-knit communities that's their God, that's their family. Right. That's everyone is going to these shows, or they go to this one spot where there's this music that's playing there every week with their favorite musicians, and that gives them life, that rejuvenates them. They come together through song,
Right.
and that's one thing that I've learned too, like just setting up events now, trying to like get more into a promoter's mindset too when I'm setting up my own events and stuff, and learning the best I can. And my last album release, I think I really clicked because it was a great turnout, and I was like really grateful and happy that it was. And I was like trying to think to myself, like, what made it this different than some other ones when they're okay.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's building the buzz. That's part of it. But I think the thing that made it the difference, the thing that made the difference was, in my mind, was there were groups of people that had overlaps and stuff. So it was like, bringing the people together, where it's like, oh, these people know each other, but they bring a couple of people, but then they know each other, and then but then their friend knew the other band,
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like this reunion of all these people that are just like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you forever. It's just like, and to me, it's like, yes, like that's what it is. Like that's such a, at least for like, I don't know, the music part of like connecting people and stuff, not just connecting with the person on an individual level, but in the performance mindset of it in the temple,
right?
You know, when you're not just writing scriptures, you're speaking it,
right?
You know, like the I feel like that was a big awakening for me when I just like kind of like I was there and I just looked around. I was like, how did this happen? Yeah, and that was the first thing that came in my mind. It was just like, oh, music brings people together. Yes. And I was just like,
dude, that's so special. We get to be able to do it, man.
Yeah,
it changes the world. You're changing the city, dude. We have a friend and his 4-year-old son. One of our songs is his favorite song.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like, and it's real. Like it's a kid. Yeah. You know, but we also have fans that are like older than my parents, right? Yeah. And like this kid, and then they're all coming out to the same show. Yeah, right. It really changes the world. So there is a weight to it. I think have fun doing it because that's part of it for sure. And like
everyone wants to have fun with it.
Yeah. But keep that in mind. Consider the. Yeah, I guess that's for me too.
Damn, yeah, I'm talking to myself too. Right? Wow.
No, I think that's an interesting thing that I've just been, I don't know, I'm always interested to hear other musicians take, and it sounds like, and I think maybe that's why I connected to music too, with you guys, because it sounds like there's a lot of very similarities in our philosophy, and I wonder how much of that is everywhere. Sure. You know, and I think, like.
And where it differs for some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've talked to some people, and they're just like, what?
Yeah, it's like
voodoo mumbo jumbo. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, no, it's a responsibility.
Right. It's like a responsibility. I just want to belt out my lyrics at the top of my lungs and drink beer.
Yeah. People need this, man. Yeah.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they need that expression.
Yeah,
hey,
it's true.
Hey, I'm not going to
get too artsy fartsy with it sometimes.
Right.
No, I think it's just because that's the way that I think it's the family, and like that the family was all my family was very spiritual in their way, and I don't consider myself to be Catholic in like the ideological sense of it, but I'm culturally that, and man, every time I go to church, I would go to church 2 times a week, like from all my grade school. Right. They are so boring, dude. Yeah. So boring.
But the music, though.
No, the music was okay.
Yeah. No, some of those Catholic hymns.
Some of the old school ones.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Those progressions, though.
The Gregorian stuff, like all the old. There's a lot of great chamber music that comes out. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But just the performance of it. Sure. Like, because I started thinking about that too. Like with the priests, they sing in parts of when they're chanting the very important prayers and stuff, right. And but it's and they're on a stage, and there's they have their keyboard stand, and I always just thought it was bizarre that they were eating flesh and drinking blood, but that's a whole other thing. But right. I just thought it was just mediocre performance art. You know what I mean? It's just like this probably was the craziest shit back in the day.
Right.
Like people would come from these people in tiny farms or small towns. They have never even seen a purple cloth or something.
I know what you're
They've
saying.
never
Yeah,
even.
right.
They don't even know what this incense they're burning. It's just making them feel weird. And then all of a sudden, it's like, this is God. Oh my God.
Right.
And they're going to see these. And these amazing cathedrals and basilicas with these powerful music and stuff, and that exists here for sure. But I think maybe it's just the parish that I grew up in was just mediocre. It wasn't that great, and there was some like we had like a sister parish in Nkankonjeru, Uganda, and so then they'd come and they had a priest from there that came and they had some African drums there. That was the best part of the whole time, by far.
Nice.
But it was, and sometimes there was some sweet organ songs, or when all of a sudden they'd sing like a spiritual song or something, I'd just be like, oh, there's some life in this room now all of a sudden. Yeah. But everyone would sing. They'd be like, oh, this is fun. But I've gone to other churches and stuff, and that have way better choirs and stuff, and it's great. But I don't know. I just that's part of what I grew up just being very skeptical. Sure. Because I was just like, this doesn't seem. But now, I mean, everyone can wear any type of clothes, and everyone's got a PA, and everyone can say their piece, and they can make their own prayers, and everyone,
Sure, you're right.
So I don't know. I wonder how much of that, we're kind of speaking a little tongue in cheek about temples and stuff, but not really. Like, I wonder how much of that is actually the change in the performance. Like, how important? I guess I'm saying, like, I think that a lot of the religiosity of music, like, it's always been there. Like, this is, I feel like we're like rediscovering things, but it's been there the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel, where it's just like, wait, this stuff has been going on for forever. And the performance of going to church, it just isn't, I don't know, it just doesn't fulfill me. And this is just the church that I grew up in, and Catholics, right? Sure. Catholics are a little different than a lot of other, like, there's a lot of other reasons. I've had many hours and hours about my criticisms of the Catholic Church. Okay. Everyone knows the basic ones, right? But now I'm in a choir with my uncle at St. Mark's Episcopalian, and it's and it's part of like me trying to like be part of more groups and like more collaboratives. Like, I need to practice my singing. Sure. From the people who know their shit. Right. Like, that person is writing operas. That person has perfect pitch. Yeah. That person has been singing 20 years and is a contralto and can just like go all like from bass all the way to soprano, and every note is powerful and perfect, and it's just like, whoa, those are the people I want to be surrounded with. And being in the choir has just blown my mind. Nice. Like, and it's like Episcopalian, they're super chill. We're singing old German stuff, but we're also singing newer English chamber music, and it's all over, and they're throwing Irish stuff. And my uncle's like, if you write a piece for the choir, it's just got to be about God, and we can sing it. And I'm like, oh, nice. Like, there you go. It's like I can do that.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. No, that's awesome though.
But so it's like the spiritual things are everywhere, and I guess it's there, but there too. But I think for a lot of people that maybe have like the nightlife aspects of things and people going to shows and I always grew up thinking that no one cared about Milwaukee music. Do you guys have that growing up?
To a certain degree, yeah. It was always like, oh, like a few people were famous from here. I was like, okay, like Cuckoo Cow, you know what I mean?
Violent Femmes.
What was that? Citizen Kane? Was that other band?
Okay. They famous?
Yeah, no, they have like one. It was like one super '90s song. I forget the name of it.
Okay,
not even sure if that's.
Well, the Violent Femmes, I know everyone.
Right. No, I mean I know what you mean.
But I think Steve Miller technically is from Milwaukee. Right. But he like isn't a Milwaukee band. He's just like from here. Right. Which is different, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought that.
Everyone would
growing
talk shit about Milwaukee arts and everything. Like, I grew up in the North Shore, and I had a lot of very creative and industrious friends. Like, all of them gone into like tech and fashion and education, all these different very creative and industrious things. But they were like, why? They didn't even look, and they're just like, no, we know that. But we're all in the suburbs. We're not really spending time here in the city. So the word in the suburbs was just like, there's nothing here. This is Milwaukee. Have you heard of anything? Well, there's no opportunity here. You got to go to the big cities. You got to move to San Francisco. You got to go to New York City. You got to go to Denver. You got to, but it's like, it turns out Milwaukee's one of the only places you can live as a musician.
Right. Yeah, that's
it's like
true,
to pay the fucking rent. You're like, it's like, good luck.
Right.
I remember I went to New York City, and I was like pretty newly single, and I was like, well, screw it. I was there for a week, got a dating app. Yep. And it's like, everyone's a fucking actor.
Right.
You're not just an actor. Bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
Bullshit. Like, there's no way. I know that you're paying $2,000 in rent.
Right.
Like, how no. No. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe some people are making it work, and they're they're acting a lot, and I'm sure, the inflation, cost of living is different in different city and stuff. But
that's the other beauty of the internet is you really can live anywhere and operate and do your art.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing that I'm seeing. It's like, you can live in Milwaukee, you can be in a van down by the river. As long as you got Wi-Fi, you're good.
Yeah.
So. Like, that's an endorsement to go do that.
Is that your guys' next big project?
Yeah, we linked with Spectrum Internet. Yeah. We signed that deal yesterday. I don't want to say it.
You got to record in one of their vans then.
Right.
Big Ford Sprinter van.
Right.
Just unmarked.
Yeah.
Got to get one of those vans. Nice. So then what? You guys had that awareness, though, or at least that like Milwaukee. So, like, what kept you around is just that opportunity that you had, or just
for us a big reason why I feel like we started doing stuff was like, hey, if we're gonna do anything in the world, we have to start here first. I knew Milwaukee's kind of an interesting city just because. I don't know. Every city kind of has its own vibe, and I feel like Milwaukee's has had this wave of talent that was just coming up for years, but now I think we're starting to see it where you have so many people from the city, from multiple like parts of the city, and because of, like I said, the power of the internet, you're starting to see more like, oh, this guy's from Milwaukee, but he has like 6 million plays, and it'd be like, I'm starting to see that more often. So that's letting me know that, there's a lot of talented people here, and there's a lot of talented people in different places throughout the country, like spread out. But this hub is a little bit interesting because it's unsuspecting. It's it's just outside of Chicago. It's no one like.
Little outside inferiority complex.
Outside of right. I was gonna say no one outside of a handful of names that we can name, or like these
Les
world
Paul's
famous
from Waukesha.
Yeah. So I think you have all that, and then I think maybe, like I said, with the internet, I know for us, we just put our first EP on the internet, just completely, out of the blue, and it was super encouraging to be like, oh, we have people in South Africa and France that are really rocking with us.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, hey, we should probably just let's see what we can do locally here too. Then maybe one day we can actually get out there and hit them up, So, so I think the internet definitely, and streaming actually really helps a lot of artists where they probably would quit. Now someone can just throw a song on SoundCloud. The next thing you know, they can have a career by the end of the week. Yeah. I mean, it's that crazy as far as like opportunities that are out there just by simply putting your art out there. So that's why I encourage people, no matter what you want to do with your life, make the internet work for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a million different ways. There's people that are playing video games and getting money given to them.
No, they're buying mansions.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally. I saw this dude who was like 16 or 17, he plays Fortnite or whatever, and he's like new house tour. And I'm like, man,
it's like what?
That's real.
What's going on?
It's crazy.
I've met a few YouTubers that use my tunes that they have. There's one guy in particular who was using my music and he played Fortnite. He never even showed his face ever.
Right.
And he had like 1 million subscribers.
Yeah. It's nuts, man.
1 million.
Yeah.
And I was near where he lived and we met up and he like bought me pizza and he was just like showing me his Corvette and like telling me all this stuff. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like this is a thing.
Yeah.
But it very much is. It's a thing.
It is. And like he was nice enough. I remember for like it was a calamity like 3 years ago. My laptop was stolen on Christmas Day. House was broken into. They stole everything. Luckily, they didn't steal my hard drives. They opened up my microphone cases and just didn't take them.
Oh, wow. They didn't know what they were dealing with.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, wow, that sucks though.
I was like, those are $400 microphones. But then like a few weeks later, he's like, thanks for letting me use your tunes. Like, definitely a lot of these like big videos that I got, I wouldn't have been big if I didn't use your tunes. Like,
oh man!
And so then he just kind of like gave me some back, and I was able to get a new laptop right away.
Wow.
It was just
awesome.
that, but he didn't even. I didn't send out an SOS or anything.
Right.
I was still just mulling, and sulking, and and being like, "Fuck, what am I gonna do? I gotta start shopping around. Like, I need to put it on the credit card, I guess. Like, fuck, like I need this.
Yeah.
Like, but it's amazing. Amazing how much money is, and especially in gaming. It's just like.
Yeah.
I think gaming, I read some statistics, 3 times the size of Hollywood. Like,
I believe
it's huge.
I believe it because your demographic is all over the place.
It's the whole world.
Yeah.
The esports championships of like League of Legends or Dota or StarCraft.
Yeah.
Like those main events are bigger than the World Cup.
Right.
Well, it's not bigger than the World Cup.
Right.
But it's bigger than the Super Bowl, that's for sure.
Yeah.
By a lot.
Yeah.
By a lot.
By people who are actually watching and engaging.
Yeah.
And they do live stuff now. Like, I used to play Dota for a little bit, and
Fire.
it's pretty fun, but it's hard and it takes a lot of time. I just I'm like, this is 3 hours. I could have been working on some other things. I want to like go back. I want to be like in a mindset where I could just be like okay with it, but I feel like I need to. I'm like not there yet. Maybe. Well, I'll go back to it when I have some more leisure time or something.
Do you feel like that's almost a career thing? Like you're like, I feel like I can't rest yet. Like
exactly.
It stopped me from playing video games where I'd like,
I don't play. Yeah, I don't play.
I was like, dude, I don't play video games anymore, and I was like, I kind of miss it. But I was like, exactly, because I was like, I feel like with my time, I feel like I could kind of be doing something else. I've been finding a little bit more of a balance though, because I was like,
no, you do it because you can.
Right.
Like, why not?
But
you make your own schedule.
I feel like exactly right. But here's the mindset though, and this is just a natural thing. I found that even by playing them, it was inspiring me in other ways. So it's actually helping my creativity still. So that's why I'm like, I feel like you have to be. You got to try to mix in that leisure.
A little market research too, like what are people thinking in this world? Like, what are their perspectives? What kind of music's being played in these games? How can I? Yeah,
it's a balance. It's a balance.
That's why I wonder, and that's the thing about like spending time listening to or like going down a YouTube. I love watching YouTube and stuff, and part of me I don't know. I always think to myself, I was like, well, if I'm going to make YouTube videos, and I've made some like videos, I've done some music video, produced some music videos, and then I've also done some like silly like skit videos and stuff with with my sisters and things like funny satire things or just performances or little like variety show things that I do. And it's interesting, but it takes a lot of work. But going down and just knowing what's possible with YouTube, and that's part of why I started this podcast was just like, okay, well, how can I? It seems like it hits all these birds with one stone. It's like I get to network with people that I want to actually have conversations with. I get to have regular content that's coming out that I don't have to edit because it's live, and it's boom, and it's there, and. And then but it builds the YouTube, and then it's more content to push out. So, I mean, it's modeled after people that I watch on YouTube, and
Sure.
and the way that I approach things, there's a lot of YouTubers that I've just watched, and it's like that's why I model. So like that's really just research in itself,
right.
But I haven't I stopped gaming in like my senior year. I used to play CSS, Counter-Strike all the time.
Oh, dude,
I fucking love that game.
That game went crazy.
And I played a lot of Age of Empires and Warcraft, Frozen Throne. So I love those RTS games where it's like, you're king and you have whole armies and like got to gather resources and stuff. I love that. But I stopped once I really got the music bug. Like once it really hit. And then I just kind of like watched my friends to like, as throughout high school, people who was developing certain skills and developing themselves versus developing themselves in the game, where it's like, that's useful. And I think it's really, and I have to like remind myself that these games probably are very important to cognition and to like for understanding, like for problem solving, for all these things. Like these are advanced games. Like people talk shit on these, like, oh, you're just playing videos. No,
it's not mindless.
These things are like you're really exercising a lot of stuff in your, and I like even kids who might have cognitive issues, like they should be playing a lot certain games. Maybe some games, there's better games than others, but like I don't know. Something switched in my head one day, and I was just like, I could be making music right now. I just felt, once I felt that like creation, this is something now that will live forever, that I can, I have songs that I've written from 2008 then sometimes get resurgences in Spotify or something, or it's like, if I was playing video games, I would have never made that song.
Right.
And that's like an investment. Whereas like, I feel like a video game is, it's less. This is my rationale, at least.
Sure.
Like this is a less of investment. That like that hour, I don't want to. It's not wasted. Right. But it's not optimized. And his life isn't all about being optimized. Right. It's optimizing time.
Right. Like I said, it's that balance, man.
So it's like, okay, well, what do I do when I'm not working? Well, then I find something else to work on. I do something else. Like, well, shit, man. I miss playing those games though. But most of the games I also like playing games just with other as a community thing. Sure, and Dota kind of had that because you're on teams and stuff. Right. But I'd eventually just like be drinking beers and smoking and just like being like, let's go, and just getting so into it. And then at the end of the game, when you win, you're like, this is amazing. Yeah, we're gonna keep this going. One more game, let's go. Or when you lose and you're just like, fuck, gotta win. I need that win. I need that win. Let's play again. Let's play again. Let's play again.
Not done yet. Yeah. Right.
But it's just so addicting, and because it really hits some things inside you that like
for sure
that team nature, like that tribal thing. It's like we're all working together for this common goal. We need to communicate, and we need to like, you have certain skills, I have certain skills. We need to make it. I think it's a really beautiful game. Like at least Dota. It sounds like you guys are familiar with at least some of. Have you played Dota?
I
League of Legends?
Yeah.
League of Legends is like the same thing, from my understanding. I've never played it.
Yeah, I had friends that were big into that. I never specifically got into it. I'm more like mindless. Like shooters and
I love the Dark Souls series.
Dark Souls,
dude. Dark Souls is like that teaches you about life. I feel like I've learned about
really,
life.
There's some games that are
really hard, and it's supposed to be hard. There's no difficulty setting. You have to meet your challenge.
Yes,
and I always love that feeling. Because if I'm not good enough, that means I'm not playing like well enough, or I'm not.
It's like, hey,
doing something right.
It's like, hey, look at your surroundings. Like, look at what you have. Look how you can be better. And then meet that.
Yeah.
And then you do it. Then you feel like a boss. But that is so life, though. Where it's like,
life.
There's no real guide. Like, there's stuff out there. But it's like, hey, there's no real guide for like how you should go about what you're specifically doing until you're doing it. And then you're beating those bosses. And then you're leveling up.
You beat the game eventually. Then you're like, well, what's next? I got to get the next game.
Yeah, what's the next challenge?
So.
No, and that's why I think it's very important that games continue. I mean, games have always existed, right? And these games are, I think it's like kind of a Luddite nature. I remember when I was a kid and Columbine happened, and my mom was like on this, all of a sudden, all mainstream media was like video game. All the politicians they want to blame it on video games. Yeah, I was like, really?
Are we bringing that back?
That's exactly what I was like. I thought we were over this.
I thought we had studies,
but it was like one news cycle and it was gone.
Right.
But which is like most things now. But unfortunately, even these fucking shootings, it's just disgusting. But when that happened, when Columbine happened, I remember my mom was even on it. She's like, "You need to play less video games, this and this." I'm like, "Mom, no." I'm like, "Let me show you." I did all the research. I'm like, "Look, these are proving like gain confidence and stuff, which is most of the issues, especially when you're bullied. It's just like
for real.
You need like just losing that self-worth, finding that self-worth again." But thinking about like all the games that he's played and like all the challenges that he's had and stuff, and been able to beat them and do that and stuff, and it, my dad would always be saying, you don't play these video games, and he doesn't even understand what the hell is even the reason he's playing video games.
Right.
What? Because he doesn't want to do work. It's like, well, that's a pretty oversimplification of this whole thing. Like, you don't have any idea what the game he's playing, what it is, anything about it. Like, you've never even played a video. You played Pac-Man, bro. Right. Like, that's like, or Pac-Man's fun, but
on him. It's impact on him. Really, I think that's what it gets back to. It's like you said, like, especially during certain times of our life, we're trying to find what we're doing. Like, what am I doing on Earth? Like, and then if you find something that you're good at, you're like, I'm going to keep being better at it. Like, like you'll exhaust it because you'll be like, hey, this is at least I'm good at this one thing, even if it is playing video games. But now you can
gives you a purpose.
You can be really good at video games and make $1 million or $3 million.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I feel like, so all those years of like you'll never amount to anything from playing that are proven wrong.
Right, and that's especially when you look at this fucking industry of gaming and how big it is and stuff. And there's this funny anecdote I heard about when the South Korean soccer team was in the World Cup. Like, to give them a motivational speech, the StarCraft esports team came into the locker room.
That's crazy.
No way.
To give them a pep talk.
It's like,
straight up.
No
Dude, Star
way.
Trek StarCraft is basically the official sport of South Korea.
Wow.
Esports in China and South Korea and a lot of, at least I know those two are really strong, but like those sports athletes, I guess
so.
I don't know if it's got to be a different word, maybe. Yeah, that's true. I don't know what I don't know the etymology of athletics. Athens. No. But
we'll try to find that.
Yeah, that's I love figuring out what the words, where they came from, what they mean. Right. But it's that just shows you, like, and that's the interesting thing about the culture there is, like, well, they like prioritize their celebrities, the competitive natureness, the competitive nature of culture. Mm-hmm. They prioritize these advanced games before the more athletic games, or like the advanced electronic games.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Where I don't know, like I know that I'm sure maybe it's just whoever, but this seems to be just a pretty much like in South Korea, they're pretty strong with this. Like, just StarCraft is so intense there, and it's a very, very challenging game. I've tried to play it a couple times. I've played Warcraft and stuff, but StarCraft is a whole nother beast. Mm-hmm. It is so intense. The level at which these players, like, they memorize every single hotkey. They're just doing, and all their screen is going. They're doing a million things with just like, I'm just like over there, click. And I always wondered why these people, like, I'd jump on a server with some people and they'd play Age of Empires and they have a giant army before I even have my first 2 farms, and they're all using hotkeys and they're all using these ways to just, they don't even need to move their mouse.
Yep.
They just press buttons and they skip all those steps.
So maybe by the definition they are an athlete. So according to Wikipedia, it says an athlete is a person who competes in one or more sports that involve physical strength, speed, or endurance. Most professional athletes have particular well-developed physiques obtained by extensive physical training and strict exercise accompanied by a strict dietary regimen. I mean, that doesn't sound like it's an actual requirement, but it seems like it says it's someone who competes in one or more sports that involves physical strength, speed, or endurance. So think dexterity would count. So if you're talking about competing digitally,
right, like archery or something.
like your hand-eye
really
coordination, or like, you know what I mean, or even just your thumb coordination. I feel like
mental speed.
Yeah, that would qualify.
Sure.
It's. Yeah.
I know they do fit. I know
that
the big teams that if to compete you have to be physically fit, right? Because if you're not physically fit, you're not going to be mentally fit,
right?
And usually, maybe there's some rare people who can do so, but the endurance of that probably not going to like. You're going to compete against a 19-year-old who's on its peak game, and you know, and stuff, and he's going to be able to click things just a little faster than you.
You
and
can
he's
see a little bit faster. His synapses are firing a little bit quicker than you know. What I mean?
You need to be on top of your game,
right?
That's crazy, man. I remember one of the first like Dota International things in Seattle. They have these, and I was watching it because I was playing with my cousins, and that's part of why I got into it. It was like the family thing, and just like I lived with them, and we'd sit around, you know, in our boxers and drink beers and play Dota all night, and just like get kind of drunk and just start trolling people and stuff, or just like dominating, being like, I don't know how we're fucking winning this. This is amazing, you know. But then the next game, someone's complaining, and we just make fun of them and stuff because it's the internet, and that's just what you do when you're. Right. But I started like follow it, and then there was actually a bunch of there was this filmmaker who was doing it was League of Legends, but they used one of my songs in like the intro to this series, like where they'd showcase each team member of this like competing team in the tournament. And they invited me to come out to Seattle and do it. And they're like, well, we can't pay for your flight, but we'll. And I was like, well, that's probably not going to happen. Yeah. At least at that time, I definitely couldn't make that happen. But if someone invited me now, like I'd be like to think about it. Sure. And be like, okay, as long as I can crash with you guys, I'd do that because that'd be sweet. Right. But then I watched it. I was like, I'm interested. Like, what is this thing? And and I was watching live with my cousins. We'd watch the tournament, and they'd have it was a huge event, huge. Right. And what was crazy is because there's all this cosplay. There's there's all it's insane, and like I don't even know how, I don't know the numbers. I'd be mixed up, but the numbers are far exceed any Super Bowl. Right. And this is crazy. Like to most people, the common understanding is that, but as our generation coming up with. Atari's long gone, but like that was what in the early 80s, and then NES was in like 1986 or 1990 something,
1985. NES came out.
Yeah.
No, that's
so it's really new. This is like these electronic games are brand spanking new, right? Yeah. And look, just like that, StarCraft came out like not less like 20 years, and it's just taken over a whole freaking country.
That's such a 2019 thing if you think about it. Right. We'd look at if we're looking from the past to now and things that are happening, like envision the future. I mean, obviously like a lot of sci-fi has like 2019 as like this futuristic far off date. You know what I mean? From Akira to Blade Runner. You have like right about here. Yes, it is pretty amazing. So if you think about it now, if you're like in the 70s and you're like looking to the future, like what's going on there? Like what does music sound like there? What are people doing? We have esports teams coming into like you know what I'm saying?
Pump up real sports teams. Yeah, that's the crazy. I mean, I guess they're both real. I'm not gonna say no. I don't want to even go down.
South Koreans listening,
right? No, they're real. Everybody's real. But yeah, that's crazy.
That's
and
2019. Like we're in that future. Yeah, if you think about it, like it's pretty cool.
Smoking out of electronic things.
Right.
Have
you seen those phones that also have vapes built into the phones?
Really? It's 2019.
That's a problem. I feel like that's a problem.
Smoking the
people be on their phones for real after that, man. That's crazy.
But you hear about there's a huge backlash, and I've been hearing all these mixed things about it. It's like, oh, now they're making it illegal or something, or
like flavored.
There's something that's going on where they're at least the federal government I think is doing something. Yeah. I don't know the whole details about it, but I just saw some meme and I thought it was funny. I don't know what. It's probably not the whole story, but it was comparing all the different deaths.
Oh, it's like 100,000 deaths. This death, six
like
vaping deaths.
actual tobacco kills this many people.
Right.
Alcohol kills this many.
I've seen that.
But then vapes 5 or 6 or whatever, and it's like everyone has. It might be just this outrage culture, and everyone's just afraid of some of the stuff. But it seems like it's a problem among youths for sure. For sure. For like, apparently, I've heard. At least I have some friends who are all high school teachers and stuff, and yeah, it's everywhere, and people are trading jewels and all these.
For sure. It's easy. You know what I mean? That's
super easy.
That's the technology. Once again, like that good and bad.
Dude, just vape in the back of the class. No one's even gonna know.
In math class, right. DMT.
Yeah,
these kids. Yeah. You can get DMT like. That's insane. That's
only going to get crazier too.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to be able to vape everything.
Yeah, they're working on
psychedelics right there
in the middle of math class.
There was a kid at one time in my math class. He didn't last very long in high school, but I think he did end up graduating. I think he actually he somehow got away with this, but he had a pipe, like a little chillum in class with cannabis, and smoked it, but like. Smoked it all in and zeroed it all out. He said he just was, so he just hold it in and just be like, but then he'd blow it up and there'd just be, I remember him doing it and I didn't, and I saw it and I saw him smoking and I saw the lighter go at it and do it and just a little tiny thing came out. And I was like, how? And he says he was doing it a bunch. But just in a classroom, with only 20 some kids in the class.
Yeah, like that's pretty.
That was so ballsy.
Yeah,
dude.
I was gonna say that's definitely,
or just reckless.
Yeah,
definitely ballsy
and reckless,
dude. You're not even supposed to. You should not bring any high schooler out there. Just don't bring it onto the property.
No, that's not a good look.
They're just gonna.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Just save it for before and after. Or leave campus and go get high and then come back. Like if you're gonna do it,
like any normal kid in the '90s would have did.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do it, at least just do that because you can get messed up
for sure.
Like
that'd be terrible, especially when you're in math class. Like I guess maybe I feel like time would almost go slower, or I'd really be absorbing the math. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Well, you said he graduated.
Yeah, right.
He was doing something.
He did end up graduating. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all the numbers make sense now. Exactly. I can solve all these equations now.
I've never been able to do math pretty well, like under the influence of that. It's not. Music is more suited for that, I think. The creative aspects of things.
It's like a different side of the brain kind of vibe.
But I don't know. I got buddies in California that consume cannabis and then they dive into coding and like dive into and
maybe it's the strain. Maybe the strain may help different cognitive. I'm sure there's some studies out there.
Like I think it's just like focus.
Right.
Just it allows things. It dissociates from a lot of things, and you can just kind of like be in one thing.
For sure.
And zone into it.
I've definitely zoned with CBD like before, like for sure. Like CBD was like whoa, like in a different zone, not spacey, but like focused. So
you can just get the synapses going. I mean, even having, I used to write a lot of music when I'd just have some wine or like drink a little whiskey, and all of a sudden it's like. Okay, like,
it's hitting a little different.
Yeah, like it's like this.
I got that red wine flow too.
Yeah, dude. Different things are happening. I'm vibing on different things. All of a sudden, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna write about this girl I've been seeing. Fuck it.
Yep.
Like this is important.
Yeah.
Whereas before, without it, it might be like a little more hesitant.
Sure.
Or I'd be like go into it. I'd probably be more like, flowery with things, but have a few glasses of wine. I'd just be like. I want to fuck you. Come on, let's make it happen.
Yeah, there we go. Come Trent Reznor.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's just the whiskey and the alcohol or in the wine talker. But I've struggled with that more recently. In the summer, I was going a little hard with I wasn't going like super hard with drinking like I did in college or something. Sure. But it was just like I feel like I was. It was the summer in Milwaukee. It's like you got to make it. You got to make it count. And that's I kept telling myself. Right. You got to make it count. You got to make it count. And my body was going with it for a while. It was like, how am I drinking multiple times a week and I'm still like going strong. My poops are good. I'm like, what?
Got that,
Or it recovers
kombucha,
by the.
man.
Well, maybe that's it.
kombucha,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Kombucha is important. It's for healthy
gut.
Healthy gut, yeah. But now, maybe it's just the change in season or something. But
Right.
it's just like boom, something hit me, and then it's like, nope. Now I can't drink like barely any.
Yeah,
It's like
kind of tapped out. I feel like we were just talking about it a little bit earlier about how that's becoming a people can maybe even around here can low key slip into alcoholism.
Oh,
by noticing
absolutely.
that if a majority of your social interactions involve alcohol or some kind of substance,
especially in this town, man.
right? You know,
Everything.
we're just kind of we're noticing that like it could easily be a slippery.
Some people pay gigs
slope.
in beer.
Right. Here you go. Here's a six. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not an alcoholic.
No,
It's a nice gesture. It's a nice gesture, but
Yeah.
go back and get some Kavita.
Yeah.
Or some kombucha.
Yeah.
Give
There
me
we
that.
go. There we go.
Give me a 2-liter.
That's the fermentation I want.
A picture
Yeah.
of kombucha.
They sell those in liters. I was in
A keg of
Dinky Town. No, they had a keg.
Oh,
They've-
wow.
In Dinky Town, it was a tap. You just bring your own thing and
That's what's up.
fill it up in whatever jar you wanted to bring,
Man.
and you weigh it. Or I think it measured it by how much came out
Oh,
of
sure.
the tap.
Sure.
But I was like, what? Dinky Town. I mean, I know that some bars now have kombucha on tap, which I love. Like,
That's nice.
because it's like when you go and it's like everyone's gonna drink. It's like if I drink a beer, I'm gonna just one. It's gonna fuck me up.
Yep.
I'm gonna be.
It's all that gluten.
My stomach. Yeah, it's my stomach gets destroyed.
Yep.
Sometimes I can like I said, in the summer it was like somehow I was able to do it but I think it was just my body just being like, go. Like no, like summertime, let's do it. And I was somehow able to do it. I think I was walking a lot more, maybe too. Like you walk around, you're a little more active in the summer. I think it helps digest it maybe a little bit, but
Yeah. Maybe just sweating more, get some. some
maybe sweating
impurities
too.
out of you. Yeah.
But I think having that option though of a kombucha at a bar is really nice. It's really nice to be able to just still drink something
Right.
that have and I've been doing that more now. Like instead of having, I'll be like, okay, I'll have one beer, and then the rest are all gonna be seltzer waters.
Right.
Like, and then people won't be like, "Are you drinking anything?" Or like, "You're not drinking? What's wrong with you?"
Yeah. No, I'm actually good.
Are you sure? That's weird. It's like, but if you have a little seltzer water, it looks like you're drinking I've told that to people
Right.
too. Like, what are you drinking? If I said, "Oh, it's water," they'll be like, "Oh, come on, I'll give you some. I'll give you some." Or I'd just be like, vodka and soda. They'd be like, "Oh, nice, good one, dude." Like, I don't know. I know that's not truthful, but like,
Right. You're trying to stave off the
so that's a white lie if there's ever any a white
alcohol
lie.
monkey.
You know,
That's
if there's ever any white
Right.
lie, that's that.
there you go.
White claw, white lie.
Whoa, that's a song. Hold up. There's a song there. That's a country song, if I've ever heard it.
Real talk.
I mean, that'd be totally for that brand.
White claw, white lie. Yeah.
Those are the first lyrics of a country song right there.
Yeah.
Listen, man.
Well, we've gone for an hour and 46 minutes.
Oh, really?
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think it's a probably good stopping point. I've been trying to go from 1.5 to 2, right around that range.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Seems to be a good way to, I don't know. After a while, I don't know. I've done a couple where I've gone like 2 hours, 3 hours and stuff, but this seems like a good, I don't know. It always seems to naturally be happening at this point. So
Sure. All right.
thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, dude.
dude.
Thanks for having us, man.
There's a lot of questions I've been wanting to ask you. So, and there's plenty more, but I feel like it was very good to hear you guys' perspective.
For sure,
about,
man. Yeah.
About how you approach the music, and you said you got a new album that you're in the works.
Yes.
I should have
Yes.
noticed
We
that.
are working on an EP right now. It is called Ride.
It's done, actually.
Yes.
As of yeah, it's done.
As of this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't have any exact dates yet, so
Yeah.
just keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears peeled, if you can do that.
Yeah, and whoever is consuming this in whatever fashion, the links to their Facebook, Instagram, and Bandcamp are in the description
Nice.
of it. And you can hear the Daybreak EP, which I love, and it's perfect driving music.
Awesome.
Put that thing on. Bandcamp is great for buying on Bandcamp.
Yes.
Because that's what I didn't realize that until pretty recently. It's like that. That's the highest percentage of sales go to the artist.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely helped out.
And you guys, so you're doing the album. So, there's any performances you guys are doing that you're excited about?
So coming up, we have Bayview Bash. We're going to be playing.
Oh, nice.
That. Yeah, so that's this Saturday, 21st.
Ah,
So we're playing there. We're playing the Milwaukee Record Stage.
cool.
We're headlining it, so it'll be dark. So it'll be nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be dark. It should be dark
Oh yeah. Yeah.
when we go on. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's basically winter.
right.
No,
All right.
it's pretty humid. But as far as the sun,
Humid winter.
all right. Well, thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
Yeah. Let's see how we can get out of here now.
All right. Cool.